Good day, friends! Welcome to Coffee Break! This is Dr. Michele Alignay. Magandang araw, magandang hapon, magandang gabi, magandang umaga, and I'm excited for our topic today. This is a continuation of my Love and Wellbeing series that I'm putting out live this month of February, month of pag-ibig. So, kumusta kayo? Akala ko walang manonood ngayong hapon, pero ayan, we have some friends who are present. Cassie and Mia. I hope you're feeling better, my love. So, good afternoon. So, let me ask you, mag-usap na tayo ng diretsahan. Sa mga taong nagmamahal dito, no? Magtawag kayo ng mga kaibigan nyo na nasa-stress sa pag-ibig. Can love cause stress? Do you think na nagmamahal ka, pero diba pag in love, dapat feel good. Dapat we're all okay. Dapat sabi nga ng iba, happy lang, ganyan. But love can actually cause stress. Okay, sa mga nagmamahal, friends, stress ba kayo kahit na mahal nyo asawa nyo, anak nyo, kapatid nyo, pamilya nyo, trabaho nyo, nasistress ba kayo? I would like to wait for your answers. Tingnan natin ang sagot ng isa't isa. Are you stressed even if you are in love or you feel loved? Yes or no? Napaka-basic, no? Pero parang, ano nga ba? Nasistress ka ba kahit nagmamahal ka? O, sige. Love inspires us to continue to feel good and do well too. Yes, that's correct. But you think that love can cause stress? Yes or no? That's the question. Yes, it can inspire us. That's a given. But can it cause stress also? Yes, 100%. Because, stress is not always something bad. Stress, meron tinatawag na eustress. Eustress is actually good stress. It's the good kind of stress. But when something, even if pag nagkaroon ka ng boyfriend or nagpakasal ka, that's a good stress. Because it's something that adds pressure to your life, whether you like it or not. Diba? So, we cannot take, honestly, if stress is not problem, stress is just pressure. Stress is just difficulties. We all go through that. We all go through that, and it's going to be toxic if we don't admit that love and relationships cause stress. Kaya maraming tao, hindi ma-resolve yung problema kasi halimbawa, in a relationship, mag-asawa. Yung isa, feel good lang lagi. Yung isa, feeling niya may problema na ayaw pang harapin ng partner ko. Kaya the more problems happen if people in relationships, tayong lahat, hindi natin hinaharap yung maliliit na issue. It's not about pinapatulan lahat, no. But we need to be aware that some patterns in our relationship may not be healthy anymore. So I would like you to reflect about that. Can love cause stress? Sabi nung iba, yes. Perhaps at some point, yes. Ako, 100% yes. Honestly, it can be very taxing. For example, we love our kids. The parents here, we love our kids, right? If you prepare for, my kids' birthday, my children's birthday would always fall into a busy season in my life sa trabaho. Pero kahit na nasistress ako. Kahit na I am burdened with work, I would not compromise celebrating their parties, preparing for their parties when they were young. So, tingnan natin. So, because of love, it actually inspires us to go beyond the given difficulties. And that's good. But we need to recognize also, as is saying, some patterns in our relationship may not be healthy anymore. Tama yan. Kasi may mga pagkakataon that you stress, that's the good stress. And then the common stress. And then there's the distress. Distress, yung talagang wiped out. Binigay mo ng lahat. Wala pa rin nangyayari. Ginawa mo na lahat. Ikaw pa yung masama. Naramdaman nyo na ba yun, friends? Have you encountered that? That you've given your all, you've given enough, ikaw pa yung may narinig, and that can actually be unhealthy. Sometimes, stress that are not actually recognized leads to conflicts. Stress that are not um, addressed can lead to well-being well-being crisis. Nagkakasakit yung isa, the others go through depression. So you have to really be open and aware that stress is a naturally occurring part of our lives. But if we do not address it, if we do not admit that we're going through stress, then problems can happen, conflicts can happen. So, have I established that already? So, tatanungin ko ulit kayong lahat. Sa lahat ng nandito at nakikinig sa atin, can love cause stress? Sa tingin nyo, reflect on it at a personal level. Maybe it's relationship with your family. Maybe maybe oh, thank you. I have been following your post for some time. I don't understand Tagalog. I managed to get the general message. Love your energy. Oh, thank you, Natalie. Um, I would like you to reflect about that because really in reality, love can be very stressful. Relationships can be very stressful. Imagine, so let's apply it to marriage. Let's apply it to loving relationships. If you recall, the topic that I had the other day is actually about the three angles of love, um, the not love triangle. It's called the triangular love theory, and that is comprised of romance, the romance part, the intimacy part, meaning the friendship part, and of course the commitment part. So these are the areas that love should exist, so that we can really call it love. So let's uh, let's see. Love and relationship can actually be very uplifting. One of the key areas of well-being, when we talk about well-being, when I do well-being seminars for corporations, for organizations, and one of the key areas of well-being is actually not just about physical and mental health. Healthy relationships, can you say healthy relationships, not just relationships, can actually be is actually one important area of well-being. Why? Have you encountered being really down and out simply because your relationships are failing or you are stuck in a relationship that's no longer healthy for you? Have you encountered that? Many people, their mental health are compromised simply because of unhealthy patterns in relationship that they cannot get out of. And that's a sad thing. So relationships affect well-being, and well-being, part of it is relationship. It's a chicken and egg thing. So I would like you to recall that moment when you felt really burdened by a relationship. Nandiyan na ba kayo? Napunta ba kayo sa sitwasyon na yan? Yung parang mahal mo pero talagang nakaka-stress. Let me just say it in Tagalog. Mahal kita pero nakaka-stress talaga. So, let's look at that. Let's look at that. So, friends, there's an article that I read and there's a video that I've seen in BBC. Um, in Japan, there is such thing. Let's focus on that topic. Can love cause stress? In Japan, there is such thing called separation marriage. Parang I was surprised. So, what is separation marriage? Mag-asawa, meron silang anak, two separate lives. Two separate lives. Two different houses. Magkahiwalay, but they call themselves married. So, if you're going to ask me about it, is it really marriage? If we're going to treat it in the real sense of the word, for me, it's a convenient relationship. Kasi when you say that when we commit ourselves to a marriage, we commit ourselves to it. So that thing called separation marriage, it's happening in Japan na hindi tayo magkasundo. We cannot get along. There are some things that we cannot reconcile. These things are reconcilable. Why don't you just live on your own and I'll live on my own and let's just meet whenever we like. Maybe go out on dates, meet the kids, something to that effect. So that's the story. That's the story. And come to think of it, in separation marriage, we have to reflect, is it a real marriage? For me, is it real marriage? No. Yes, it's just like that's not marriage, that's correct. It's living a single coupled life. Yeah, it may be a couple life, but it's not a real marital commitment because there's no commitment there. And why did I say so? First, if you think that it's gonna work in the Philippines, in my expert opinion, it may not work. And am I pro it? Okay, let's quantify that. For me, a couple, for you guys, I think that pwede bang maghiwalay temporarily? Yes. Option na maghiwalay temporarily if your goal is actually to work things out and to create a breather, to space ka. Masyado na tayong entangled sa isa't isa. We're becoming too dependent. We're becoming too overly emotionally loaded. We cannot think straight anymore. Let's just, take a breather for a week or a month. And then while we're taking a breather, let's reflect on things. Let's see a counselor. Let's see how we're going to work things out. Because the goal of that for me, the goal of a temporary separation is actually to work things together as a couple. Work it individually and then work it together. So, am I making sense there? So, that's for me the only thing that is acceptable. But is it acceptable in the Philippines? We don't know because our culture may not accept it. And I don't know with you guys, papayag ba kayo no na hindi, ayoko ng ulam mo, ayoko ng itsura mo, hindi tayo magkasundo, maghiwalay na lang tayo, ako dyan sa kabilang bahay. So there's really no marriage there. The relationship is actually out of convenience, but not out of commitment. So for the married people here, taas nga ng kamay ng mga may asawa, married. Our goal is just not to be married with convenience. That's correct. I love this. I love you, but you're too difficult to handle. And then there can be people like that. And you're blessed if marriage is just not a 1 day thing. It's just not a 1 year thing. So going back to the three dimensions of marriage, remember, there's commitment, there's intimacy, and there's romance. So all of these three should be existent for a good marriage to thrive. But stress can cause breakdown in a marriage. Difficulties, challenges, and crisis situations can allow the marriages to drift apart. Kaya nga may relationship drift. But problems, couples, people, friends, I know you're listening. We need to accept that we need to accept, yeah, that's correct, Mia. Marriage is not for convenience, but commitment. That's very true. I think I don't want to say that. Thank you for putting it down. So we need to realize that stress is part of relationship. But too much stress needs to be handled and it needs to be addressed for both ends to work well. Because I don't want, honestly, personally, I don't want to be the one who's always getting the shit in the relationship. Sorry for the word, but I'm not sorry for saying it. Kasi may mga pagkakataon na sa isang relasyon, may mga couple na yung isa na lang yung tagasalo. At yung isa, feeling niya, feel good siya pag sinasalo niya lahat ng problema. Feeling niya parang, okay, I'm the savior. Or yun naman iba, I'm the victim. So that's not healthy. That's not healthy because actually, even though that you think that that's unhealthy, that's still a codependent relationship because you feel good being the tagasalo and answering all the problems of your spouse, or you feel good answering everything that he cannot do this, he cannot do this. Ako nagagawa, to the point that you're losing yourself, to the point that you're losing your well-being. So can love cause stress? Yes, because it actually needs to have stress to strengthen the marriage. As I said, stress is part of life. Love can cause stress, yes. And that stress, let me stress the point that stress can happen and it can be a way to retool the marriage, to recalibrate the marriage, to reevaluate the marriage, and to strengthen the marriage. Either it's marital relationship, either it's even friendships, even family relationship. Problems can happen. As my favorite family theories would say, problems are not the problems. Coping is the problem. So it's not the stress, the outside things that's happening to the couple, that's the problem. The problem is how they make the relationship work. The problem is how they cope together to resolve the issues in the marriage. So the problem here is not all the things happening outside them, but the problem here is what is in there in the marriage. So going back dun sa separation marriages, is it a good way to resolve issues between married couples? No, it's not. Because it's so convenient, magkahiwalay sila. How can you test the strength of the marriage if there's no way for you to actually live together? That's what couples do. You actually have that common commitment to each other. So how do we manage stress? How do we resolve conflicts in the marriage? One, unang-una, this is really for that. Marriage is not for convenience but for commitment. That's true. So the first one is actually commitment. And when we say we commit to the marriage, ano to, parang kahit na may mga pagkakataon na gusto mong isoli yung asawa mo sa magulang niya or gusto mong you just want to press the eject button or the pause button in your relationship. I just want to press pause but I don't want it to stop because there's that inner commitment and that decision that even though that I'm not in love with you today and there's a lot of stress going, I'm still committed to make this relationship work. So I know that this is just a temporary setback. I know that we just need to resolve things, but there's the commitment na we're gonna make it work. Simply like that, we're going to make it work. So going back to separation marriage, there's no commitment there. Kasi wala silang resolve to make the marriage work. They want to make a convenient excuse to be conveniently there for each other if needed, but during the difficult times of inconvenience, during the discussion, during crisis situation, during the very tiny patterns happening in the marriage that can actually strengthen your life, that can actually strengthen each other, wala. There's no way to test the marriage there. There's no way, there's no commitment at all if you're going to just separate and then you call yourselves married. Am I making sense? So the first one, commitment. How do we manage stress and how do we resolve conflict? The second is cohesion. When you say cohesion, but cohesion is cohesiveness, closeness. It actually, this is what another term for emotional bond or the intimacy that should be present. Bakit? Kasi parang kailangan mo ng connection with the person. It's not about the hilig, but you know, if you, it's actually being friends. It's actually being emotionally confident that it's being emotionally confident that I can turn to this person no matter what. This person, I love this person. Yes, things can be stressful. We have a lot of difficulties, but we can be friends. We can be friends, we are friends, and I can tell him this and she can tell me that. So this cohesion is very needed because cohesion is what brings about intimacy. Cohesion is it's the emotional connection that I think if we're talking about married couples, we cannot give that level of emotional connectedness to anyone other than we can give our partners. Kasi iba rin yung relasyon sa anak natin eh. Kasi imagine, our kids are actually our own. But our spouses, us at spouses, our spouses, they're not our own. Kaya, women, wag niyong aangkinin yung asawa niyo na anak niyo. Kasi hindi niyo sila anak, hindi niyo sila palaki. You're supposed to be katuwang, hindi pa bigat. Tandaan niyo yan, ha? Because that is why you're someone's here saying 15 years of marriage parang wala ng spark. Alam niyo, sa totoo lang, minsan kahit stressful ang buhay, minsan ang dami niyong away, pero minsan may kilig pa rin eh. In the middle of, yun yung challenge nun. Yun yung beauty nun. That's the mystery of being married. And that's the mystery of love. That even though that you're so stressful, oh my God, I still love you. Oh my, bakit pag tiningnan mo ako, natutunaw ako? Kinikilig pa rin ako sa'yo. And that is very critical. That is very important. And you know, spark, you don't wait for it. You work on it. Spark is actually intimacy. Spark is actually your emotional cohesion. Yung emotionally, I am connected to this person na hindi ko kadugo. And sa lahat ng hindi natin kadugo, that spousal relationship, your relationship with your partner, it's the most critical relationship there is. So it has to happen. So it's the emotional bond, it's the intimacy, it's that innate connectedness. Para kayong parang Bluetooth na kahit na you just have this compatibility and synchronicity with each other. So that's cohesion. So the first is commitment, the second is cohesion, the third, of course, communication. Why some marriages work and some don't work, it's because when you say, okay, ang solution lang naman lagi communication, that's true. Because as a marriage theorist said, communication is the grease, grasa, that smoothens the friction in relationships. So it can actually smoothen the stress. It can actually smoothen everything. But kahit gaano kayo kagaling magsalita, mag-communicate, at mag-deliver ng speech, kung hindi tayo marunong makinig sa relasyon, it's gonna be nothing. We both need to speak and we equally need to listen. Another, what is the foundation of effective communication? We'll go back to number one and number two. If there's no commitment, hindi na yun magpapakinggan. Bakit magpapakinggan? Bakit nakakausapin? Ayoko na sa'yo. I don't want to work on this relationship. So, number two, ikwento ko sa'yo yung problema ko. Nasistress na nga ako sa'yo. Bakit ko pa ikikwento sa'yo? Magkikwento na lang ako sa mga friends ko. So, pag nawala yung dalawa, how can you really communicate? What is, kumbaga, it's like table setting. If you're also, that's laying down the foundation. So it's very important. It's very important for you to have commitment and cohesion for communication to happen. Take note, effective communication. Can you say that with me? Effective communication. Many of us are very good in communication, but not all of us can effectively communicate. And that is very important. When we communicate, we know what we say it at the right time, at the right way, and we're clear with what we want out of the relationship. Hindi to nagtataguan ng feelings, pang high school. Communication, hindi niya na, in married life, you directly tell your partner, I feel bad about what happened. I felt left out earlier. So, for example, that alone, that situation, for example, that you felt left out because for some reason, that feeling of being vulnerable and tell the other person, I feel left out, it's not gonna happen automatically if you don't have commitment to work on the relationship. Because the other person might feel that you're bashing me. No, but if he or she knows that you are committed to make the relationship work, it's not gonna cause them stress, but rather it's going to cause better communication and for you to look into your cohesion. So parang, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me. I'll take note of that. And that's an opportunity for you to actually discuss things and deepen the relationship. So si communication, because you have commitment to work to make The goal is to always make the relationship better, and there's the cohesion that we are connected. It's easy for you to communicate things, whether it may be good, whether it may be bad, whether it may be mundane, or maybe it's something so deep. You can communicate with your partner. So how can you really, for example, if you go to that separation marriages, there's no opportunity to test commitment. There's no opportunity to test cohesion. There might be communication, but I would guess communication is just about the the daily matters, the administrative matters. How are the kids? Do you have budget? But not really how you felt, that you're offended, about your dreams, about what's offending you. Somebody's asking, what if your spouse involved your in-laws and other relatives? Well, remember the two of you are married. So the two of you should be involved. That's my answer. Simply like that. The two of you are married. The in-laws are out of the question because they are not part of the married life. They may influence you, but you're not married to them. So, and having said that, there's commitment, cohesion, communication. How do we manage stress and resolve issues in a marriage? The fourth important area is conflict resolution. Yes, it's an art. Do you know that conflict resolution, it's actually an art? And why did I say it's an art? Nako, you have to realize that it's an art because you have to make sure that you know how to work on the relationship, because there, as I said earlier, there are many people, they do not recognize conflict. May problema na, for example, a women would always, women are the more percept, I'm not saying it's an absolute, but women are the more perceptive when it comes to relationship. Sasabihin ko sa'yo na may problema, hindi mo ako papansinin, tas aalis ka lang. Is that a good way of managing conflict? No, there's no conflict resolution there because the problems are not addressed. We have a problem with our budget. We have a problem with our child. Then kaya mo na yan. There's no conflict resolution there. So if that happens, we have to realize that if stress is existent in a relationship, if problems can always happen, then we should strengthen the commitment. We should be friends and connected by cohesion. We should have effective communication so that we can have better conflict resolution. Why? Because conflict resolution can actually save you. You know how? You know, there is such a thing called hierarchy of conflict. At the bottom, the topmost, in the hierarchy of conflict, the topmost there is crisis, and the bottom is exchanges in daily life. In that theory, I love that theory. So, yung mga common na nagkikwentuhan kayo, like you are, for example, after dinner, habang naghuhugas ng pinggan or nagliligpit kayong dalawa sa bahay, you have this exchange of what happened to you. Alam mo kanina ganyan-ganyan. And then minsan magko-conflict kayo at matitrigger yung isa. But then at the end of the day, you're saying na, ay really? That's how you felt? Oh, I'm sorry. Or magsasagutan kayo but you realize na, but why are we discussing this? Okay, because we need to do this, because we need to work on this, because we both need to do something together. So you know, that daily exchange in daily life is very critical, because if you don't exchange daily, you cannot develop intimacy, you cannot develop conflict resolution, and that sets the foundation for good communication. So crisis management or conflict resolution is actually happening every day. Kaya pag may malaking problema, ang daling yung pag-usapan at madaling pagdesisyonan. Kahit mahirap pagdesisyonan. Pero there's that, because of the commitment, there's a willingness to resolve the issue. There's a willingness na, hey, I'm gonna make it work. Am I making sense? So pag nawala in a trial marriage, there's no exchange in daily life, because how much time and commitment did they spend with each other? There's none. So friends, akala natin na ang problema, sige dapat chill-chill lang tayo sa relasyon. No. Sa totoo lang, ang problem nag-escalate. And it comes in different shapes and forms. Stress happen in marriages because of external problems, because of things beyond our control. So if there is stress internally in the relationship, if problems, crisis, attacks, and other situations happen outside of the marriage, and then anong pundasyon sa loob? Wala, buwag agad. So you have to remember that you alone, the commitment, the cohesion, the communication, and the conflict resolution needs to really be retooled each and every day. Are you learning? So the fifth one. That's the fifth one. I like what I wrote here. Clarity of expectations, values, and priority. So there's clarity. Hindi naman natin sinabi na dapat pareho. There's no, you may be compatible with many things, but remember, you may be compatible with 20 to 30%, but it is likely that you do things differently. If you are in a relationship, likely you are 100% o kaya 90% different from each other, and you being different from each other, it takes a lot of guts to accept the other person. It takes a lot of willpower and commitment to actually say, I'm willing to make it through. But you know, kahit na magkaiba kayo ng pinanggalingan, kahit magkaiba kayo ng mga kakrung-krungan nyo, you know, idiosyncrasies, but you have to remember, if there's clarity of expectations, values, and priorities, sa isang desisyon, okay, may project yung anak, kailangan samahan yung isang anak, tapos may hinihingi yung nanay mo, yung sa kapatid mo nagpapasama. If you both are clear, what is our priority? What is what are we expecting from each other? We expect to support each other in the marriage and in the family. So, madali kayong mag 1, 2, 3. Okay, yung nanay ko dyan lang muna yun sa baba. Kahit ako yung kailangan niya. Hindi eh. Kasi ang una kong commitment right now is to be a father or to be a husband. So, kaya yung iba nagiging problematic with a lot of things because there's no clear expectations from each other or two unrealistic expectations. Ayun naman na extreme. Unrealistic expectations na kailangan ganito yung sweldo mo. Yung ganon, hindi naman realidad. Kailangan meron tayong so and so savings. Kailangan makapag-travel tayo sa Hong Kong this year. Ngayon na, this year na. Kasi 7th birthday nung anak mo eh. But are the resources aligned? No. So there should be clarity of expectations and alignment of values, clarity of values. Can you say clarity? Clear yung expectations, clear din ano yung top values natin. Minsan nagkakaiba yan. Diyan nagkakatalo, kaya magkaiba yung diskarte, magkaiba yung time management, magkaiba yung priorities because people have different sets of values. So the two of you have to be clear, where do I stand in this relationship? Where do I stand? Ako ba ang nauna sa'yo o yung anak mo? Ako ba yung nauna sa'yo or trabaho mo? Ano, sa pamilya natin, ano yung pinaka-importante ngayon? Is it family togetherness or is it couple time? So, wala na tong solusyon, wala nang comparison kasi malinaw. And clarity can only happen if there's communication, there's cohesion, there's commitment, and then there's good couple resolution, couple, conflict resolution, di ba? So you see, all this gel with each other. And lastly, let me be spiritual about this. I believe that separation marriages, it's not an option. Why? Because I believe in the sanctity of marriage and I also believe in the spirituality of a marriage. No matter what religion, no matter what belief people have. But they have to recognize that any marriage should be centered on a good faith life. Because you need to be we need to believe that there's someone bigger than us. There is a God, no matter what religion you believe in, no matter what expression that we have. But it's supposed to be centered on faith. So for me, I believe personally that marriage takes three because there's God in the center and there's the two of us as a couple. So we know that we are connected to something bigger than ourselves. So is separation an option? No. Kasi problems will happen. Stress will always be existent 50% of the time or more. But if there is faith, there's a common ground for you to work things out. There's a common value system. There's a common God that you both turn to when things um go crazy. You know that your marriage is just not about the two of you, but maybe about there's a mission to help other people, there's a mission to inspire other marriages, and there's a mission for the marriage to bless your children. So pag ang marriage, you just have a trial separation simply because it's convenient for you dahil hindi kayo magkasundo. And then it means it may be lacking on some faith dimensions, some spirituality into it. Because sometimes the problem with many couples is one person is trying to be God. One person would like to control everything, or one person would dismiss the other. So there. But if a marriage is centered on a good faith life, a good set of values, so there's clarity of how do you want to be treated in the marriage? How do you relate with each other? Kasi naka-ground yan sa common faith nyo eh. And then there's the conflict resolution that I would like to make things work because that's humility. That's humility for each other. And then there's also communication. You talk to each other, maybe sometimes with anger, but maybe most of the time that anger is because out of love and concern. And also there's that willingness because of your willingness to work things through. There's intimacy because that's how friendships are made. If your life is centered on faith, if your life is centered on individual prayer, maybe there's a couple prayer also that can happen. And more importantly, there's commitment because anyway, either you're married in the church or married civilly, you committed to each other. That's what you signed up for, to love in each other, to I I I we commit to each other when we say I do's. So there's flexibility. You decide to kahit anong mangyari, I will try to flex here and to flex there, but we'll make the marriage stronger. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that even though you see that there's a lot of stressors in a marriage, even though there's a lot of so many stressors, so many difficulties and trials in our outside life, you have to recognize that it's up to us to make marriage work. Tama? So, friends, are you still here? You think you can make it work? What is your big C today? Is it commitment? Is it cohesion? Is it communication? Is it conflict resolution? Is it clarity of expectations and values? Or is it centeredness in faith? Which one is very important for you? But you know what? One exists with the other. All the things that I said, they interplay. So you have to check, can love cause stress? Yes. But can love surpass stress? Yes. If we have this six, it can surpass conflict, it can surpass crisis situations, and it can surpass anything because you're working it through. But it's not going to happen without the willingness. It's not going to happen without the decision to stay married, stay in love despite of the stressful situation. And that's what coffee break is all about for this afternoon. I hope that you are blessed with everything that I've been saying. Please share this to family and friends, especially those who needs it at this those that are going through difficulties. And I really pray that wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever relationship that is you have that is causing difficulties, I pray that the good Lord will bless you. The good Lord will fill you with mercy and grace. So, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. I hope you share this to family and friends. And if you would like to support Coffee Break, please do share your Facebook stars. And if you would like to support more, you can just send me a message so I can give you the GCash details so we can continue with this live stream. So magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. And let me just promote, if you would like to get copies of my book to share with your loved ones or yourselves, this Valentine's, you can get copies of my books. You Can Care for You, The Soul and Science of Self-Care. The other book is The Beauty of 40, Unwrapping the Gift of Midlife. That's a very good book for people my age. And of course, the other one, Family Goals, Embracing the Imperfections of Family Life, available at Facebook's PH, Facebook at Lazada and Shopee. So let's continue connecting with each other. This is Dr. Michele Alignay for Coffee Break. See you again next week. God bless everyone. Keep loving. Decide to love better.